Yeah, so after college, I went back to Orcas Island, and I was helping my neighbor set up his studio. And he asked me what some of my composition influences have been. And I mentioned Terry Riley to him, and he got really excited and told me to follow him to his barn. And he had an enormous collection of Buchla synthesizers, and I had no idea what a modular synthesizer was. And he told me I could borrow it for a year, and so I took it to my cabin and just explored and taught myself synthesis that way. Hi, I'm Kaitlyn Aurelia Smith, and I'm a synthesist and composer. And today I'm going to share how I compose with modular synthesizers for Fact TV. I'm going to walk you through some of the sounds. This patch has 27 voices, and so I'll play little snippets and talk about how they're made. So the first sound, so this is one voice, which is the spectral multiband resonator, and it creates 6 different voices from the harmonics that are being fed through, and that's being triggered by the tempi, which is the main clock that I'm sending to the CV bus so I can get lots of different instances of it. So that's one sound. Over here, so I have 4 mixers that I'm interacting with. And then so that's all the voices, and some of them are, like for instance, this voice is actually 4 voices combined. So some of them are chord structures. And then the last sound that I'll interact with over here. At that time, I was still playing classical guitar and singing and kind of writing orchestral folk music. And so at first I was like, oh, I'll just run my guitar through this and like process my vocals. Didn't even mess with the oscillators because I didn't really understand that stuff or control voltage at all. Then I started to like explore the oscillators and made, lots of bleepy bloop style sounds. And then I realized that I needed to just listen to it and understand how to relate to it, how I would relate to the guitar or an instrument. And so then my first step was just listening to 2 oscillators together and listening to how finicky it can be tuning-wise and how to use that to my advantage. Buchla was the first synth that I explored. I had never even messed around with software synthesizers. It's what I came from, and it's the most intuitive for me, and it's designed to be played like a performance instrument, so it's very intuitive to play it like how you would a guitar or a piano, with changing the envelope and like the expression of it in just a very fast and easy way with the sliders. I enjoy using real instruments as well, and that's, I mean, I studied composition and orchestration, and always had the intention of writing for an orchestra. And when I found modular synthesis, it was my way of having access to lots of voices and sounds. And I still, like, I'm slowly starting to incorporate more real instruments. Like the album that's coming out, Ears, has parts that I wrote for a woodwind quintet. And I want to do that more and more. It's just that it's a lot more accessible and not as expensive to, I mean, it's still really expensive, but it's a lot more accessible, and you know, you're using your own time to make those sounds on the modular synthesizers. To me, the easel is a very performative instrument, and I know that that is what its intention was from Don Buchla, but not everyone uses it that way. My favorite way to approach composition on the modular synthesizers is to imagine that I'm a conductor, and I like to set up all the voices and get them tuned and figure out, you know, who's going to have the high line, who's going to have the middle and the low line and the bass line, and figure out what their rhythms are going to be, and then and what their textures are going to be, and what are the parts that I'm going to interact with, and what are the parts that are going to interact with themselves and trigger each other. And then I'll take a moment and in my mind try and figure out like what the composition's going to be from there and how they're going to layer on top of each other.